Hey everyone, I decided to start a video blog exactly about Ethereum because every day I go on YouTube and I hit what's the latest news that came out today, and I feel like I'm not getting enough of what's currently going on from enough people on YouTube updating on what the current situation with Ethereum or even the whole crypto space is, because it moves so fast. There's so much news that comes out in a daily amount that is not being commented on, I feel like, in this space by enough people. I mean, we have Ty, or whatever his name is, that guy. We have that. A few friends of mine that used to do it, but it's like they're not getting enough views or they're not uploading enough. So I just wanted to go ahead and make this so that I can share what I think about Ethereum on a daily basis. When I read news and I get all these random thoughts that are super hopeful and super optimistic on what's going on. So I want to talk in this video specifically, this first one, about why I think Ethereum is just gonna skyrocket and completely blast past Bitcoin. And if you know anything about Ethereum and Bitcoin, then you know that there's a strict cap of 21 million on Bitcoin. You know that block times are really long. So if you do a transaction, if I send money from here to there, it takes a really long time for the confirmations, for the transactions to be validated by the miners and to prove that it happened and for it to go through. So I first got into Bitcoin, I think in 2013, when there was this website that was offering a 10% discount. I'm not gonna disclose the name of the website. It might have been 20% if you paid in Bitcoin. So I said, why use my regular fiat money, my credit card, if I can save almost $30 by just using Bitcoin and figuring that whole thing out. So I found Coinbase and I made a Coinbase account and I bought some Bitcoin. It took a little while for the money to get in my account, and I was like, okay, this is neat. And then I saw my address. I saw the address I had to send it to, and it created a little invoice for me with a barcode. So I hit send. I sent from my Coinbase account to there, and I was hoping that I hit all the right letters and all the right numbers. And then I sat there and I waited. And I just stared at the screen, and it said transactions can take sometimes up to 50 minutes and more to confirm. It told me as a warning. So I left my screen open, my monitor open, and I went to the bathroom and I ate and I cooked and I did all these things that I had to do. And I came back and I looked at the screen and it still had like one confirmation, hadn't done anything. So I was so frustrated. I was like, damn. I remember reading that this Bitcoin thing was supposed to be just such a paradigm change, such a huge change. We could send money very quickly across the world from person to person. And I'm sitting here online and I'm thinking, wow, I'm trying to buy my first thing with Bitcoin, with actually using a currency other than US dollar, and it's taking forever. This is never gonna go mainstream. I mean, it's fine because it's an online purchase. I'm not in a store and I don't have to wait for the cashier to finish ringing me up for 50 minutes. Imagine that. So I'm just like, okay, it went through and I was like, I got my 20% discount. That's pretty cool though. Pretty cool because I own my Bitcoin. I own that piece, which just kind of blew my mind in that moment, and that I could do that even though it took so long. But I said, if this is gonna go mainstream, they're gonna have to do some serious work to make sure that this moves a lot faster. Anyway, so I kind of just kept my Bitcoin there and I used it only to buy what I needed to buy. I think I bought 2 Bitcoin just to keep, just in case, especially after the Mike Hearn incident that happened last year, where he said, was it Mike Hearn? I think it was Mike Hearn, that Bitcoin was dead and he went over to the government to create a cryptocurrency for them, and the price just went down for Bitcoin. So obviously what do you do when the price goes down is you buy the news. So I went ahead and bought when everybody else was selling. So I got in around 348 or something like that, or 380, 385. I bought a few more there, and then the price just started going up and up, and it got to 435 today. The price of Bitcoin is around $535 in US as of around this time, and that happened largely this week because people are saying China's currency, the yuan, is devaluating. So people obviously want a better store of their wealth if they see that the money they have in their bank is going to be worth less. So where do they put it? They put it in something like gold or maybe Bitcoin, which they're a lot more familiar with in China. Anyway, Bitcoin, slow, and they have all these arguments about block sizes, 1 megabyte. They can't argue. Nobody knows who Satoshi is. Maybe he's an alien. Maybe he's a time traveler. That's what I think. He's an alien. And nobody has any sort of guidance and direction for the platform. So you have this price skyrocketing because there's a demand for it, as the halving, which is when the Bitcoin reward for the blocks halves again for the first time since 2012, and the price shot up massively, and it's gonna happen again in this July. And so there's gonna be less of a reward, so we're all gonna be paying a lot more electricity. It's barely profitable as it is today with the difficulty going on for the miners. I'm a miner myself for Ethereum. For the miners to get any sort of profit. So I think there was one that went bankrupt in the US last week, and people keep dropping out of the space with Bitcoin because either they've hedged their funds and they know that this is going to be halved, and they're hoping that even though the price might go down for a little bit after, they can weather that and the price will shoot up, and so they've saved. Or you've shut out business completely and let China do it, because electricity there is what? It's cheap or free. And so you have these huge, massive centralization of Bitcoin where they can't make decisions because they need a 51% decision. And the core developers, who are insistent on being greedy and not being open to testing a bigger block size, are basically hoarding and stopping development by just keeping it going and trying to keep their own thing going while everybody else has to drop out. The difficulty shoots up and the price will ultimately crash, because even though I already told you that it took me back then so long to send money and transact with it, nowadays it could take even longer, as there's this huge backlog of transactions that have to be processed. Anyway, I'm just ranting for the first time. So more people will drop out, China will keep doing their thing, and Bitcoin is centralized in China, or whoever has cheap and free electricity and has these huge rigs, and it's just they get to make the decision at this point, which, right, for what's been going on, hasn't been the best. They just sat there arguing and nobody can decide on what to do. Anyway, so come in Ethereum. 19-year-old Vitalik Buterin comes in. 19-year-old from Canada, Russian, little kid, little lanky, little awkward socially, and then he just publishes his white paper, sends it to people in the community. He had a Bitcoin magazine going on at the time, and people read this and they're like, what was I doing when I was 19? And he decided to not just emulate and replicate what Bitcoin was doing with a faster block time or different algorithm, which is what's been going on with things like Litecoin, which had a faster 5-minute block time, I believe, which is better. It's an improvement. But by also adding code, you can program that money directly instead of via a sidechain or another app that has to be developed through Bitcoin and has to be integrated by every other miner, basically, that code. And so we have this one guy who can actually dictate and can create a good leadership model and can dictate where the platform will grow in a positive way. So we have finally a voice to look at. Well, Satoshi just published his voice, the first experiment, and kind of disappeared, and it's just been kind of chaos and anarchy out there, where now we actually have a voice who isn't exactly a dictator. He's not trying to force anything, but he's definitely created a platform and stands behind it, and he's helping gather developers who are all very positive and have a great outlook. And so you have Ethereum, you can program it. I can say on July 15th, send my mother 15 Ethereum to help her pay with rent every 15th of the month to help her. I can do that automatically. I don't have to worry about a bank. Fees are minimum. Oh my God, and the first time I bought Ethereum on Poloniex, I updated my Bitcoin, for example. Okay, so I had my wallet set up, I had my Bitcoin from Coinbase, I had my Ethereum Mist wallet, and then I went ahead and sent money from my Coinbase wallet over to Poloniex. And the confirmation took so long just to get it to Poloniex, so long. I think it wasn't too bad, it was like 40 minutes. And then finally I had the money there, I bought some Ethereum, and then I told Poloniex to go ahead and withdraw that money back to my Mist wallet for Ethereum. And that happened almost instantaneously, like within 30 seconds. And that's what my wallet said. This transaction will be mined within 30 seconds. It says that all the time. And I'm like, whoa, now this is what I'm talking about. This is why I said Bitcoin will never be adopted mainstream. It's nice and it's got a great idea, but it's too slow. And I don't know how to do it. I'm not a developer. But then I tried Ethereum, I think in March, and I was like, oh, or February. I was like, oh, wow. I should not have been just ignoring Ethereum, which is yada yada about in the community like I was. And naturally I was just like kind of hesitant to even look at it like most people are. But now that I'm mostly in Ethereum. I still have a little bit of Bitcoin, solely because I feel like after people are going to keep buying up to the halving because there's all this hype, which has been happening. And then I have a feeling that the difficulty is going to skyrocket, price is going to drop, and people are going to look at Ethereum, which currently stands around 80 million that exists versus 21 million. And within a year, inflation will go down to near 0% because they're switching algorithms from proof of work, where you mine with electricity and costs and all this stuff like Bitcoin keeps doing, which is destructive and costly and to the environment, I mean, and can centralize it by things like electricity in China, versus proof of stake, which is I have this ether and I'm going to put up this ether that I can't touch and say that I own it, and I back all of these transactions that are occurring with my computer because I have ether and I don't want to lose any. And so it's mining and verifying transactions with electricity versus and computing power, versus I have ether and I have this amount and I'm not going to touch it, and I fully have faith that these transactions are real, which is just a complete paradigm change. And so it's a good thing. That's the first thing. But when that happens within a year, which is what they're saying, maybe a year to 17 months, something like that, then Ethereum is going to have near 0% inflation. Whereas right now, I think 5 ether are created every block, which is something like every 5 minutes, which is still not too bad, honestly. So we're at 80 million. I think we're going to cap out maybe 90 million. I have no idea. A little more than that. And that's it. There's not gonna be that much either. So the price then will stabilize a lot more. Imagine Bitcoin. You think Bitcoin is a good store of value, right? Because it's not as volatile as it used to be. And it only has 21 million. However, every 4 years there is a halving. And when the halving happens, there is volatility because people buy and they speculate and then they sell off, and then the electricity rises in costs, and all this stuff happens every 4 years. So we really have no idea what's gonna happen. We really don't. But you have Ethereum, which we know what's going to happen after it switches to proof of stake, which is their hope. We know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to stay that way. Near 0% inflation through proof of stake eternally. And so there is a strict limit, almost, in the amount produced every year. And that's just to offset the ether that are being burned, not to necessarily inflate the amount of ether that's already there. But sometimes we lose ether. People lose wallets. People lose computers. Less passwords. We just end up at zero eventually through centuries. So my point is, I think people are coming to terms, especially in the Bitcoin community like I did, that there is something better in many ways in Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin was the original, the OG. You have Ethereum, which is a new boy, the positive boy development. You have this genius of 19 years old backing it, all these positive developments, all these great communities coming out, all things like the DAO, tokens that you can create, you can make your own currency, you can program this, you can do that. They have a wallet that's constantly updated. Jaxx.io today, they're doing this wallet that you can buy on your smartphone. It's a light wallet. You don't have to download the whole block. And then you can now use that wallet for either Ethereum or Bitcoin. And they're doing an event right now called 7 Days of Jaxx. We're on day 5, where every day they release a big development for their platform. And it just released version 1.0 on Apple and Android. Then they're imminently gonna integrate the DAO tokens. And then after that, they're working on a whole platform. So that way, if you have the DAO tokens, you can go ahead and just upload it to your wallet, and then you can vote, you can look at proposals, you can comment, and they're gonna offset the comment costs from being spamful by charging a small micro payment if you post to pay the DAO, which is gonna grow in value for all those who own those tokens. Anyway, you have all this development, all this talk, there's so much going on. Part of the reason I made this blog, and it's just so exciting to me to be a part of it, kind of early in the process, honestly. So, another point that I want to talk about is definitely the ultimate price of, where I think, let me make sure this thing's still recording. Yeah, it is. I'm driving home. It's I had a wine training today on my job at my hotel in the Miami Beach, so I'm going back home that way. There's a lot of traffic at this time. It's like 5 o'clock, imagine, middle of the week. Anyway, the ultimate price of where I think Ethereum could end up, even by the end of this year. And I'll tell you why, based on what I've said already. So, Bitcoin reached an all-time high of $1,200 at some point. Based on hype, it was the first cryptocurrency and speculation. People just saw other people buying, and they kept buying, and things were good, and people were getting rich, and more miners, and all this. It was kind of like Ethereum, but it was the first time, so there wasn't as much going on in the whole scene. but there was a lot of excitement, a lot of bubble. I saw it until I used it, and I realized it was kind of useless, and I realized it wouldn't go mainstream for that long block time that I realized, and kind of the difficulty in just getting into it. Exchanges, I didn't have anything. There wasn't an easy app, I think, at the time on my phone. Maybe there was, I don't know. Anyway, it was hard to find, so imagine. And I'm kind of techie myself, pretty tech savvy since like 1997. I've been working with 95, Windows 95. Anyway, so you have Ethereum. Bitcoin currently stands at an $8.2 billion market cap. The total amount of money in US dollars is about 8.2 billion, whereas right now Ethereum keeps hovering around 1 billion. And I think the biggest reason that Bitcoin eventually crashed, and I saw it happen, from $1,200 back down to earth in the $200-ish range, was because of the Mt. Gox crash. This Ethereum, this exchange got hacked into, and millions of dollars, a significant portion of the Bitcoin even out there and distributed and being sold and bought and mined, was just stolen from this exchange that people kept their money on. A huge amount, and that caused them to go bankrupt, obviously Mt. Gox, and full faith in Bitcoin. So much that was another time they proclaimed the dead, just to go away. You had all this hype, and somebody obviously seized an opportunity to break through security and just steal it, and that caused the price to crash intensely because so many people lost money and lost faith and trust. And how secure are things exactly? I saw this happen, honestly. People like to argue about why after the halvening first happened, it shot up so much it crashed, and that was just natural bubble. Maybe part of it was, but I think honestly, who knows what the ultimate value of Bitcoin could have been if it hadn't crashed. It could have gone much higher. It could have gone to $5,000. There really was no limit because nobody had ever bought one before. So nobody knew the exact value of what it was to be. There's only going to be 21 million. And that's still the case right now. Nobody knows what the ultimate value of Bitcoin or Ethereum can be because this is really the first time we're evaluating. So Bitcoin was certainly the first to set the trend. So yeah, obviously everybody kind of measures by Bitcoin. But yeah, it crashed and it's on the way up again, and it could go to the moon again, barring no crazy incidents into like a Coinbase exchange being hacked into or something crazy like that. And I don't know, or it's like a super fatal flaw in the code that we never realized. Maybe the third halvening was coded wrong or something. Anyway, so that happened, and faith in Bitcoin was lost. I kind of just ignored that whole thing. Whatever, I think I got into the Bitcoin after that whole halving hype anyway. So then Ethereum. Ethereum, I think, could go much higher. Ethereum so far has had no major security problems like that. And barring they don't, who knows how high it could go. It's had a $1 billion market cap, and people are leaping off of Bitcoin and now from the US dollar or other national currencies onto Ethereum directly now. And they're doing this because there's no development in Bitcoin anymore. It's centralized these days. It's hard to push anything when you have these greedy core developers who insist it has to be their way. And so Ethereum is around $14 as of today, and it's been rising. I bought a significant amount. I now mine Ethereum. I'm sitting at home mining at about 200 millihashes per second and making something like 55 or 60 Ethereum a month. And I'm fully faithful that that's going to be worth a lot more by the end of this year. I'm thinking, why not 100? Why doesn't it get to at least Bitcoin's market cap? And then completely blast past it once people realize they don't have to look at Bitcoin anymore. Once it gets to Bitcoin's level, which it's been the only coin that's got even close, and it's just been crazy the amount of hype surrounding it and development. It's not just another alternative coin, altcoin. And so when it reaches that one point where it actually matches Bitcoin, I think there's going to be a big shift. I think people are going to realize that why does the ultimate value of the maximum of the most widely used cryptocurrency have to be Bitcoin? Why does it have to be $8 billion or $9 billion might be that case, or $7 billion? Why does it have to be that? Why can't it be much higher? Why can't I use Ethereum? Suddenly, I think people are going to start dumping Bitcoin because who knows what happens at that point. Or you buy at least some Ether and the price goes up. And then when people actually realize that no, yeah, there may be an infinite amount of ether that will be created solely to minimize the losses in the currency from lost computers and passwords and ether and all that, they realize that it actually is a store of value, even though it wasn't meant to be. You can actually use Ethereum to store value because it's actually more stable than Bitcoin. They're gonna find eventually it's gonna stabilize somewhere, and it kind of maybe already has. But once it reaches $8 billion, the price of one Ethereum could be at least $111 per ether. And then who's to say it won't double that market cap, triple, or go 10 times if that huge crash fiscally that is expected to happen in the US that we've been long overdue since 2008, and the next big great crash that people talk about since the Great Depression happens, and we freak out because our dollars and our stocks, we got a good taste this year. And I talked to my old band director, we lost so much money in his retirement money when it just dropped, what, like 20%, 15%? It was kind of a correction, but it fixed itself pretty quickly, which is surprising. Let's say that happens and there's this huge crash and the government can't print enough money, or they do and suddenly it's hyperinflated and your money's worth less and nobody understands why and what's going on and they're losing money, freaking out. Naturally, the smarter people are gonna look for things like gold or things that are more stable in value, things that are more international. They're gonna look off seas to try to keep their money. You don't wanna lose money. If you're not gonna be gaining money from a bull market, then at least hopefully you can retain and minimize your losses. People will think about that. So where do you look? People are gonna look and start talking about stores of value. Bitcoin has come up many times. Ethereum just showed up on the investing Reddit. Reddit is where I get a lot of my information. It just showed up on the investing Reddit. And that's big. People are talking about it. And once they realize that they can store their money in something like Ethereum, it's international. I can go to a different country. I can use it. It can't really be traced. Or sure, you have to talk about your taxes. You have to definitely report your capital gains. But while it's in there, while you just bought ether and it's growing, who knows? You know, nobody can track it. Nobody knows how much you have. I like that. I like the privacy in that nobody knows exactly what I am worth and nobody can take what I have. I don't know. I think the price could go easily to a $1 trillion market cap soon, within 5 years or less. And then much, much higher as the real one world currency becomes a cryptocurrency. Something we can send nearly instantaneously with 0 fees. It's decentralized and controlled by no one centrally necessarily, however, owned by everyone. Hell, we just create our own stock market in the DAO, in a way. And I think that's something very, very special, and something we have never seen, and I'm very excited to be living in this time. I mean, it's the future. We have Slockit doing things, the Internet of Things coming out. We have so many proposals going up for the DAO. Sure, everybody's scared about losing money in the DAO, but don't put more than you're risking. But I think Ethereum, the base Ethereum platform, has limits to wealth and market cap that we've never seen before by any one nation. And it's bringing us, I think, the whole world together. It's gonna cure things like food, who knows, and poverty, by those of us who get in early and smart and who see its potential and help the platform grow and respect others. And I'm excited to be a part of it. So anyway, I hope that I can keep making these vlogs randomly. I'll upload them whenever I hear news that gets me interested or I feel like randomly ranting, such as this one. And I'll upload it so you guys can listen. And if you have any specific questions, or if you have any disagreements with what I've said, feel free to put it in the comments, honestly. I don't know everything, and I don't agree to know anything. I'm not a developer. I'm just an investor, speculator, and a miner recently. And I do believe that I would love to use it as a currency. Hell, I've just started building mining rigs, and I accept Ether with a 10% discount, just like that website that I saw, in payment, because I want to support the platform. And I do want to get paid in Ether. I love seeing that number of Ether that I have grow. Anyway, take care, and as I mentioned, leave comments below. That's it.